It's time for the Steve and Kyle podcast with Steve.
Steve, it's really hard to get over how much we stand out in this parade. We sat down and Steve was talking about this thing hopefully coming through today.
Kyle, I hate to cut you off, but leading the way, white truck, pulling a shed with a sign that says, "Sheds for sale."
They're selling a shed.
And Kyle.
Apologies if that is copyrighted music.
You can smell the lack of sex from here.
Well, Kyle, I hate to cut you off, but up next, trio of convertibles.
Now, here they are, two guys who are living in style, Steve and Kyle.
Oh, man. We got to do it again.
I have to tell you, I did not, while recording it, I thought, you know what? They're not all winners. And that's okay. Right? We took a shot. Shot. And this was a half-court shot, right?
It was.
That nobody else had no other podcast is out there thinking that what we did last week was an okay idea.
No.
Right?
We didn't think it was a good idea.
But not only...
We like to embrace the stupidity on this podcast.
Right. I think it's why we've been to Van Wert. It's why we took a 24-hour round trip to the Cheers bar in Boston. And it's why we dropped a 1988 Jeep Comanche off in a parking area with 0 other vehicles to do play-by-play of a parade.
A local parade. Not the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade.
Right.
Not the Mummers Parade on New Year's Day in Philadelphia. No. Local parade.
So while we are recording that, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I know it's an hour. We're just going to get through it. And you know what? It won't be one of the better ones we've done. But that's fine. No. It's an experimental thing. And then I listened back to some moments of it. Those few specifically in the intro there. And was laughing out loud at our own jokes. And I never do that. I do not think you and I are particularly funny.
No, neither do I.
But this episode for me was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of the better things we've done comedically in a long time.
And that's saying something because we didn't try it all.
No, right. I mean, it was quite legitimately telling you what was happening in front of our eyes.
And for some reason, people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, that was a ton of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
It was nice that we had the video up there. The video, and to the people commenting, like saying, "Hey, next time do this." You have to realize the parade was essentially 25 feet away from us when I decided to throw my phone in the bottom of the truck and say, "Let's see if we can get a video."
That was
of this.
not. I mean, you may be surprised to know we didn't really plan this out that well. As evidenced by the first 15 minutes of that podcast just sounding like absolute garbage.
Well, I don't think unless you and I were at an airfield, we could have prepared for the noise level in those first 15 minutes.
That was amazing. And then all it took was just a little doo-doo-doo-doo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Things reset, and then everything sounded really good.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So next time, we do play-by-play for a local parade, which presumably would be next year.
Right, because we can't do it for the holiday parade because, well, I mean, we'll be in it.
Yeah, the big holiday parade coming up sometime in November. Hopefully our local area has learned their lesson, and we'll just go back to doing a normal morning parade that we can enter with no issues and utilize those 800 or so Chucky C. Juniors we have still.
Yeah.
So that will be the next time. But next time we are doing play-by-play of a parade, we'll be sure to try to set the phone up.
Oh, I have a tripod, too. I have a tripod that would hold that phone perfectly. I have all of the cables that we would need to pipe the audio directly into it. We just didn't use it.
Well, we didn't think about it. Listen, we had enough going on. 1, worrying about where we were going to be, and 2, getting there, and 3, making sure this was even going to work audio-wise. That me essentially tossing my cell phone into the bottom
into the bed of
the truck wasn't an afterthought.
A lot of people loved the beautiful angle that they got.
Yeah. I tried to set it up on top. There was nothing there.
No, it wasn't happening.
Everybody knows the 1988 Jeep Comanche, known for its amenities, could have used one more shelf in the back of.
Well, we got 1 year for me to not do that.
Well, I mean, listen,
that was fun though. That was a fun time.
I took a quick jog home in the Comanche, and I need to give a public mea culpa to you.
Hey.
To a degree.
Oh, okay.
Because the last time I rode in it...
Man, I was riding high there for about 2 seconds.
But you have to remember, the last time I rode in it, you had no issues with my description of the Comanche.
No, it was accurate. If anything, you undersold it.
You had some hanging lights.
The interior was barely back in. Mm-hmm. I mean, the lower part of the dashboard wasn't even installed. So there's just wiring harnesses hanging out. Nothing had been cleaned in any way. Mm-hmm. I hadn't run a rag and some armor all over anything. It was looking rough, and it got what it deserved. It got the Tell It Like It Is review from the Tell It Like It Is guy on this podcast.
But I mean, and we talked about it in ad nauseum at that time. Mm-hmm. The biggest issue was the overwhelming scent of gasoline. Right?
It was running a bit rich for a while.
So
leaned it out a bit. And
fast forward,
much better.
8 months, because this was September, October, because we were preparing for the parade.
Yeah, and the rush was on to get it. To get it back together.
So fast forward, however many months later, and I say, hey, the broads can walk. Mm-hmm. The two dudes are going to ride the Jeep back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, when you're a big deal, as evidenced by being, as far as I know, the only broadcast from the parade, from the local parade.
That's right.
Sitting in the school parking lot that day.
I think we should put that like on our banner or in our profile descriptions, like exclusive podcast provider of our local parade.
Yes. That's going to get us the big advertising bucks.
That's where it comes from.
But yeah, I mean, obviously we were a huge deal there.
Yes.
Everybody, can't tell you how many women walked by and flashed us, asked us to sign their chest.
Yeah, I signed a foot. Must have been a foot person. I don't kink shame if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
But we wrap up.
So they're into feet. So you signed their feet.
I mean, listen, I don't know what they like. I don't know what feet people like.
They could, they just like their own
Maybe it
feet.
was the feel of the Sharpie on the foot that really revved that engine, or maybe it was the idea of another person being near a foot. I lied. I am going to kink shame. If you're into feet stuff, I don't like you. And I'll post it on the poll.
Okay.
If you're into feet stuff, can people like you?
Look, I got no problem with people who are into feet stuff.
Listen, Mr. Acceptance over here.
Hey, as long as you're not licking my feet,
right?
As long as when I walk in the room, you're not like. Hey.
I feel like every time I would see that person, though.
You'd think they've had feet in their mouth?
Oh, God, that wasn't that far. But now that you mention it, I would think I'd be wearing knee highs so they couldn't see my feet.
Well, but you have to look at it. That's like saying that if somebody who is gay walks in the room, you think, oh, you better not hit on me. I mean, just because they're attracted to a certain thing doesn't mean they're going to be attracted to your certain thing.
No, because I'm willing to discern that gay people aren't automatically attracted to every other person that they think might be gay, or every other person.
Right.
I am willing to say that about feet people, that they are simply attracted to every bare foot.
Look, that's a perfect example of how not all things are equal.
That's right. I'm willing to make that difference and accept that. Maybe accept that as one of my many faults. But listen, if you're into feet stuff, I don't like you. That's the long and the short of it.
So that's where we've been working our way towards that.
Yes. So, but we digress. So I hop in the Manchi. We load up the chairs and every other thing in the back end, and I hop in.
Say goodbye to the babes.
That's right. See you guys in 15 when you get done hoofing it.
I wasn't even talking about them. I was talking about
all the other...
Yeah, all the women who had surrounded us. You know, going back to the feet thing. And
of course.
Autographs. Yeah.
So, hop in, and my first thought is, boy, I can't... This is like a night and day difference.
Well, I have to say that since you've been in it last, it's gotten a good cleaning. Sure. The interior fully put back together. There's still a couple little quirks about it, but I was happy to know that I didn't have to give any kind of special instructions for you just to simply get in the vehicle.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh, you got to jiggle the handle this way, or don't touch this because it'll fall off.
You've got to lift the car door up and then give a kick to the bottom and then pull.
Yeah.
None of that. It was fantastic. Hopped right in.
Everything worked. Door opens and closes.
Fully clean, like minimalist dash with nothing hanging.
Oh, yeah, that was the 80s for you.
And looked to be super clean dials that you had up there, everything. This felt like a totally different truck.
You actually asked, the dials, the gauges,
yes.
The speedometer and gas gauge and everything. You actually did ask, wow, were those brand new? I said, no, just cleaned them. So I knew right there, this guy's impressed.
Did you? I wasn't fully impressed until I got out and went.
Give yourself a sniff.
Regular human.
No smell of fossil fuels.
No enriched oil.
Yeah. So I've gone to great lengths to get the thing running somewhat better. It's not perfect yet, but
I appreciate asking you though about the gasoline smell that happened. Whatever, and it happened a couple times. It was there, and I believe. Apologies if I'm mischaracterizing the conversation. I said, "How did you do that? What did you figure out? What did you do to get rid of it?"
Mm-hmm.
And I believe your response was the shrug emoji. You don't know.
No, I mean, I
did you have to put a piece of gum on the tailpipe or something where somehow some type of smell was getting into the Jeep?
No, I just put a little turn down on the exhaust, so the exhaust now shoots down at the ground. So it just takes longer for the smell.
Good.
If you had stood there long enough,
right,
it eventually would have hit you. Now, there were some issues with sensors that were 35 years old that didn't quite work anymore, and wiring that had been a little melted through. So, yeah, it's been a journey. This is a marathon, not a sprint, to get the old 88 Jeep Comanche Pioneer running.
So now that it is at a point where you don't have anything major to do on it, correct?
I mean, other than the looks of it.
Which is, it's I believe Katie referred to it as like the tri-tune. Mm-hmm. Or the,
Tri-tune,
the tri.
Yeah.
You have...
It's a little red in the front.
Yeah.
Black in the back.
Some striping.
There's some spots of various colors. I honestly, though, I mean, she seemed impressed, right, Katie?
She definitely saw a truck there. I'll say that. Now that we're here, though, where it's, for all intents and purposes, outside of, and I'm guessing, is this something that if you decide to have it painted, is that something you're cutting a check for, moving on?
I don't think so.
You're going to do it yourself?
I don't think
so. That's an old brush and a gallon of Sherwin-Williams?
Yep. Yeah, just going to get the interior latex. Believe it or not.
Going eggshell? Or
I S you not. There are people that do that.
Oh.
And
woof.
It can look amazing with the correct sanding and everything.
Man, I find it hard to believe.
I know. I know. Me too.
So are you? What's it going to take?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. But you're going to get a sprayer and do it all yourself?
I don't know. I've done a little bit of painting before.
Okay.
My old Jeep, the old green. Do you remember the green Jeep? Actually, I believe that you gave me a ride to the dealership to pick it up when I first got it.
Was it really? I don't remember that.
Yeah. Because I strangely enough, I don't remember why. Because that was when I was still living at my old house. Mm-hmm. The dealership, though, was out here.
Okay. So
you gave me a ride to pick it up. And then we stopped at the Wendy's on the way back and shared a nice meal.
I got to tell you, the more I hear about our relationship over the past 13 years. Just a lot of rides given.
Yeah.
Pick you up when you had to drop the Comanche off. This was gas leak day. Pick you up at the school. Drive you home for the parade.
Yeah.
Drive you to the dealership or pick you up at the dealership to pick this one up. So
yeah,
maybe I should start keeping tabs on how many rides we offer.
Turns out that you are simply around for convenience.
That's right. So
even though I have a wife,
right,
she wants nothing to do with it.
What of the painting though? Because this seems like something, if you really wanted the paint done, you would be doing it right now or would already have it done. Mm-hmm. Painting's miserable. Especially for this, where if you got a sprayer, wouldn't you have to do like a full tent in the garage? You gotta
drape everything. Yeah. So I've done a little bit of spraying on a much smaller scale. Like some of the stuff on the Comanche, when was it last year or the year before that? I don't even remember. But I had the whole back half of the truck disassembled, and it was all sandblasted to get all the rust and crust off of it. And then I painted the whole back half of the frame before I put the bed back on.
Gotcha.
And I really enjoyed it. The thing that sucked was I got overspray all over the entire garage. So everything in the garage now, if you run your hand on it, kind of feels like a 220 grit sandpaper.
Good.
It's just got a little bit of texture to it.
Well, so in most things that you need sanded, though, you bring the sandpaper to it. In this regard, you just bring it to the sandpaper. Mm-hmm. And so, if you've got, a 2x4, just run it along the top.
Run along anything, literally anything in the garage. I'm still undecided on what the finish is going to be, whether it's going to be, paint or vinyl wrap or what. I'm not sure yet.
I didn't know vinyl wrap was a thing. To be like of a color, so it would look like paint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Is one more cost prohibitive than the other, or?
I haven't really dug into it yet.
Okay.
That has not been the priority. The priority has just been getting it running and being able to roll through a parade.
Like to see you get that thing cleaned up.
Okay.
What's
my deadline?
Well, I mean, you don't have a deadline. I mean, honestly, I would like to see.
I don't know. That seems a bit close. I'm not sure if I can make that work.
If I were to tell you, you have about 5 months and 2 weeks before the holiday parade.
Yikes! I mean, if I were to break it down, because to paint an entire vehicle would probably take me a full weekend, like all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Not to mention there's at least a week of prep time to go into it. So if you look at it over the course of 5 months, yeah, no problem. But we know that that's not how it actually works.
Right.
So.
It wouldn't be as, listen, 5 months, 2 weeks. That's what I can tell you would be when you and I are hypothetically going to be in a parade.
Oh, that's happening. 100%. That's happening.
So whether you or I or both of us care to the point where we would like painted or wrapped in there, because it's going to be adorned with holiday decor anyway. Mm-hmm. So does it matter? Probably not. But if a deadline is what you need,
do I maybe paint it holiday themed colors?
Listen, there's nowhere saying
it's already half red. I just paint the green part black or the black part green.
There's nowhere that says you can't paint this multiple times. For all the seasons.
Yeah, I mean, no problem. Why not 3 times? Why not? Maybe I'll just do a different paint job every year. So every year there's a new theme.
Yeah, orange year. Yellow year.
Yeah.
So with all that being said about the Comanche, and now that I've ridden in it, when it's all cleaned up and for all intents and purposes ready to go and done, can you explain to me why the hell you wanted this thing so bad?
That I cannot.
Maybe it's a had to be there thing in terms of that generation of seeing it and liking it so much, right? Because
I think
it's fine, but it felt like a 1988 single cab truck.
And it's not even a nostalgia thing, because I don't really remember these from when I was younger. Or anything.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing them and thinking, oh, I really want one of them. I'm always drawn to kind of oddball stuff, like oddball vehicles. I like the stuff that everyone else looks at and thinks like, wait, what? That's kind of weird.
Except for the 1999 Plymouth Prowler. You're
except for that.
Okay, yeah. Good. So that's the one that you cannot get on board with. Okay.
No, not so much.
That thing is gorgeous.
I mean, look,
model of it up there, and again, thank you for whoever sent that. Thank you very much, because it needs to be encased so we can preserve the integrity.
I gotta admit, it's growing on me.
That was
it's still terrible.
We received a DM. I don't even remember. I apologize, from somebody about a possibly reinvigorated
Plymouth Prowler,
and somebody had to have known it was me that was replying, yet still followed up with, "Yeah, it's got a 750 Hellcat," and I I don't know what that is, so I just said bitchin'.
The Hellcat is that's like the big crazy motor that they put in all the big super fast cars.
So probably
707 horsepower.
Probably not it then. Probably not happening in a. That feels like a car that won't ever get a second life, to me.
Yeah, it's one of those niche things.
Yeah,
but yeah, getting back to why I want it.
Yeah,
don't know. Other than the fact that I like oddball things, and I mean, I love having a truck. Mm-hmm. It's just it comes in useful in many ways. So even though I had gotten rid of my last truck probably 10 years ago at this point, I still want one. And then I'm into Jeeps, and I'm like, that would be great to go out and buy a brand new 2023 Jeep Gladiator.
Sure.
But, you're talking $70,000 or something to get it exactly how I want it, which is just bonkers that vehicles are that much these days. But I don't know. I like working on things. I like oddball things. I wanted a truck. That was kind of the perfect like Venn diagram overlap.
Now, being close to done or done-ish, and knowing you, just saying what you said, you like working on stuff, etc. Mm-hmm. When does the Comanche phase run its course? And you're like, I'll sell it at a loss, because I believe you've said between the time, the money, like you don't think on resale you would be able to recoup everything.
Maybe. I mean, I haven't.
But you didn't buy it as an investment, so I'm not saying that it's disparaging.
And I didn't keep, I could probably estimate maybe how much money I have it, but I didn't keep that. This isn't one of those things where I have every receipt.
Sure.
And let me look at this and pull up a spreadsheet or something. Mm-hmm. It just, look, if somebody came along and said I'll give you $15,000 for it.
Sure.
It's probably gone.
Yeah. Right.
But nobody's going to.
Yeah.
It's not it's not worth it.
So is there a universe where the Comanche phase for Steve ends, not out of boredom per se, but out of the desire to just take on another thing? I think we can all agree here.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Comanche phase ending. I don't know. Taking on another project, absolutely. There's no part of me that's going to say I'm not going to do something new.
How does that conversation go with Annette?
Okay.
When you have two cars you're driving, two dailies,
and
then the Comanche. So you're already
right. To be clear, she has her car. Yep. I have my car. We have the Comanche. I don't have two vehicles plus hers plus the Comanche. I would argue she
would say you have the Comanche. I don't know if she would stake her claim in ownership in that.
Touché.
But
give you that one.
How does that conversation where you say, "Hey, hon, I found this rippin' deal on Craigslist. I'm not going to sell the Comanche because, look at it. But what would you say if I took on, this truck that I think I could spend $3,000 to rebuild and sell it, whatever." Mm-hmm. The idea of a fourth vehicle floating around the premises. How does that conversation go with Annette?
After the eye roll, before the eye roll, I think ultimately it boils down to her main concern is that she's going to have a spot in the garage for her car in the winter.
And also, I'm sure no matter what the initial investment would be, there's always that, how much is it?
Yeah.
And how much is it going to cost to get it whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
but I think that she trusts me enough to know that I'm not going to be like, hey, look, this is only $25,000.
Right. She's not.
Look, I drained the 401k, but it's okay. We only took a 38% loss on it. No, that's not. Not going to happen. I think that she trusts me, and I trust myself enough to know when I should just, maybe let's just let this one pass. Every deal is not the greatest deal. Every deal is not the deal of the century.
Right. You can only find, quite literally by definition, so many deals of the century, even in the rolling century.
Right. Yeah.
That we so often utilize. So, okay, listen, I think we need to put a timer on a fourth vehicle.
Okay.
Because I think, and maybe this is more just for me, because I think, especially once the Comanche does eventually get painted for you.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be almost like on an internal timer. I mean, I don't think you'd argue that either. Whether it's house projects or vehicle projects, there always seems to be something itching.
Always something brewing.
And I don't know what else there is for you home-wise in terms of what you'd want to do, whatever, which leaves us there's automobiles.
There's some things.
Well, I mean, we've talked about you kind of mailing it in lately. The crooked swing set's still out there.
I still maintain that those are just that's just the terrain of the earth.
Go slap a level on that thing.
Oh, it's crooked. It's so crooked, in fact, that when Evelyn said, "Oh, can you make the chains on the swing set?" She wanted to raise it up because her feet were dragging on the ground. So I had to raise it by like 3 links on one side and 2 on the other.
I'd love to see. We need to get a picture of that swing because we mentioned it a few times. Just like from your back window at the swing set from a distance, because that's really the first time I saw it, and I said, "Is that a little bit crooked?" And the most shocking revelation ever. Yeah, whatever. From you.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the backyard's not perfectly flat by any means.
No. So, I mean, a lot of people would do whatever, whether it's earth leveling or bricks or whatever.
No.
But you slapped her up on an uneven patch of grass.
Not happening. For something that I know, let's see, we bought last year for $850, and we'll probably sell it in 2 years for free because no one buys those things, and after about 2 years, they're a complete waste.
Right.
All I'm going to be left with is a dead patch of grass.
Your hope and prayer is when you post, inevitably, saying free swing set, that some poor sucker is willing to come with a toolkit, because no doubt that thing has 14 types of bolts and nuts and sizes. And
that was the one thing I was really impressed by. It was like a Phillips head screwdriver and a Torx bit, and that was like 80% of the hardware on
your
it.
Kid's still alive. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
I mean, sure, it creaks a bit whenever she climbs the ladder.
I wanted to ask, mentioning that now, you started to tell me this off air last week, I believe, and I told you just